Ladies and gentlemen, wow. Thank you, thank you. The Chilliwack Creative Commission is located on the traditional territory of the Stalo people. So good afternoon. Welcome to Creative Third Thursdays. It's great to see you guys in our audience this afternoon. It's Happy New Year from all of us at Cowork, the guys at Cowork Chilliwack and all of us at the Chilliwack Creative Commission. And let's say thanks while we're mentioning those guys to Tim McAlpine and Michael Berger. We actually are really, really grateful to be hosted it because what a great facility this is to do what we're doing here. So we are really grateful. On the screen are members of the Chilliwack Creative Commission. I am Geoff Edwards. I'm the chair of the Creative Third Thursdays Committee, and we're super happy to see you out for Creative Third Thursday. And I must say, a few more people than we thought were coming today. We had to get some extra chairs out. I hope we've got enough beer. Anyway, it's good. The Creative Commission is a commission of the Chilliwack Economic Partners Corporation. The commission's a resource for film, interactive, and digital media in Chilliwack. And our mandate really is to try and attract and make economic growth easier in the emerging creative sector. So we can connect anybody in the creative sector with resources and business needs. So look for more about that at the Creative Commission on the link businessinchilliwack.com. Okay. Wave. Wait. That was not a commercial break. Thank you, Sandra Bear Image. Wave if this is your first time to a Creative Third Thursday. Wow. Welcome to Creative Third Thursdays. Like we say, don't just give it one try, come a few times, because you'll be an interesting group of people that always attend this, and quite often there's new people to attend. You've been here 10 times. That's great. That's good. You really should get out more. So Creative Third Thursday is your monthly opportunity to meet other creative people locally and those that want to meet them. Plus, this is a tradition around here. There's always a nice cold mingle pop. So with that in mind, let's get on with our show. Step back from the stage. Pretty good, dude.
Hey, pleasure to be here.
Welcome.
Hey.
So what do you feel? Did you like it?
This is surreal. This is fantastic. Just to start, when it started, it was just me in my old apartment in Victoria, just kind of experimenting, and now this is huge. Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. Just talk a little bit about what we just saw, the video. That was the beginning of a new painting.
That's right. So there is a piece that is on display outside the studio here, and it is my second last commission before I make my big travel out to Germany. So this was a piece that you got the pleasure of seeing the sky happen for the first time, just getting those brushstrokes happening, and
it's pretty cool to see, from the very beginning to what I was like, whoa, you did a lot of work in a week.
Yeah. Well, chipping off a little bit of it here and there, but yeah, no, it's that's like half the fun of like being confident in your style. You can just, your process, and just, you don't overthink it. You don't think too hard about it, and it just happens when it happens. And it just, yeah, sometimes I even shock myself, like, whoa, that took a week? Wow, good for me.
So how long have you been a painter?
Well, it kind of has been like a part of my life for a majority of it. My mother, she owned an art gallery here in Chilliwack called Gray Area Art Gallery. And when I was like in like middle school, I didn't really know what was art gonna be, like what really was art professionally. So when I was a kid, I got the fortunate thing of being exposed to what professional art looks like. And just going, whoa, like you can actually do something with this. People aren't just, it's not just a hobby for some people. It's a lifestyle. It's a form of income.
So you were fairly young then when you made
Very
that
young.
sort of,
you
drew that equation.
Yeah, I would say I was about like maybe 13, 14, just going like, whoa, okay, like this is a job, like anything, but like more intensive. And it requires so much more.
So thinking back to that time, and no pun implied here, what drew you to it? Good one. That was great. So I'm excellent.
I have no puns to add to that, unfortunately.
I'm good at dad jokes.
Well, actually, art in itself, like that thought I had was like, oh, okay. And I kind of just moved on with it a little bit. I didn't think this was really for me yet. I didn't really think anything really of art for myself at that point. But when I was in university, I was studying theater. I fell in love with it when I was attending GW Graham. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, like this seems like something I'm really good at, like just kind of being in the moment on stage, improvising when I needed to. Like if someone forgets a line, suddenly you have to improvise that moment, or someone is late to their entrance, you got to kind of go with the flow. Mm-hmm. So just kind of there's people in front of me, they're expecting a final product, but suddenly that final product moved a little bit. How do you improvise? How do you keep on top? Mm-hmm. So just learning that thought process, being confident with the moment, with yourself and your own creativity was a big part of where I felt so good about that. So I studied in Victoria thinking it makes sense, right?
So what you were studying in Victoria was an acting career, right?
Yeah, it was, exactly. So out of high school, I started doing background acting in film and TV here in the Lower Mainland, thinking, this could be it. And once you do enough background, you start realizing like, okay, like this is great, but I end up just sitting the majority of my day, and I have some film time for like maybe 4 or 5 minutes after like a 10-hour day. And I just thought, there's got to be more to it, So I thought acting, like there's a talent there. I already kind of learned a little bit of that when I was in high school, so let's go for it. So I went and studied at the Phoenix program at UVic. I did actually end up doing some like main stage shows that they have. Like they have like annual shows in their seasons where they have people come through, and it helps support that program. But that's kind of the fun of university, right? You go into it thinking one thing, you come out the other. And it was about second or third year I was into it, and I just didn't think that was where the creative. That's not my end goal anymore. It didn't satisfy me the way it might to my colleagues at the time. But so I kind of I stayed in my art degree. I stayed in my theater degree. But at that time, I started taking a lot more art history courses. And at that time, learning about the struggle of the post-impressionists. Late 1800s, photography suddenly becoming a thing. Okay, then why am I commissioning an artist to paint a boat on the ocean if I can just... Mm-hmm. So I just started learning about how these artists were fighting the academic, right? Like they would have these massive salons in France, and there was a huge vigor, like it was a very intense competition to just get your work on the wall, because it had to fit within the aesthetic of the like the modern icons at the time. And so a lot of artists went, you know what? We're hosting our own salon. We're going to loosen up the brushstroke. And just that confidence in doing something so provocative at the time, I just thought that was really cool, like this struggle of identity in the artist. And I, at the time, going through kind of like an identity creative crisis, going, wow, I really resonate with that. That's just that vulnerability of the self and kind of risking. And I loved that. So I took more and more of that. And then just one day, I thought I had to keep going at it. So I had actually come home from a semester. It was the Christmas holiday, and my family lives up at Cultus. And so that lake is just fantastic for just being on your own. And especially during the winter holiday, there ain't no tourists. It's just locals, and it's just you in the water, you in the lake. And I was in a pretty low mental health state at this point, just like really like the self-identity, like what is life? What am I doing here? What's the process? What's the point and all that, right? So I just decided to buy a little sketchbook, some ink felt brushes, and I brought myself down to the lake one day, and I'm just kind of sitting there, and I'm just like, what am I doing? What's going on? And I see this little branch sticking out of the water, and the light's hitting it, it's reflecting off of it, and I'm just so captured by that, and just like this little impulse thought in my brain, like this voice in my head just said, just frickin' draw that right now, get out there. So luckily I had all the colors I could ever need with the felt brush, so I just went at it, and I thought, sticks are brown, but that's no fun. So I thought throwing a little purple in there for the shadow, a little green for the middle tone, and a little orange for the highlights, and I just got so excited by that color combo on something that wouldn't be that, right? So then it just became every day it was like 4 little sketches a day with these little brush pens. I still have the book to myself, and it's I love it. I just love having that little moment. And I just remember I was just each day doing a different piece, and that just took me into a form of excitement. It became like a form of meditation, a form of therapy. Get out of the typical headspace and just throw yourself into something that you have no idea where it's going to go. And that was honestly where it started. It was just so exciting to continue creating. And I used that improvisation from theater to just keep on going. And that was 2017. Now here we are, and I'm talking about it. And that's huge. What a humbling experience this is.
What about your process then? So you started with something, you don't use the same technique these days, well at least you didn't when we filmed that video.
No.
You're using an acrylic paint now?
Yes.
Just talk a little bit about, what basically inspires you to make a painting. Where does that come from? Do you look at something in particular, like the little twig, or?
Yeah, well, it really started with, it was like any time you're learning something, you have to study, right? Study something that is existing. So yeah, luckily we all have the fortunate thing of having a camera in our pocket, right? So going out into the scene, taking a shot and going, let's try to recreate that. And over that process of trying to recreate what exists, it just naturally formed. And I used a lot of music to help influence just because of my theater experience, especially at UVic, there would be times where we would be completely improvising a shot or a scene with just music playing and moving the body in a way that works with the rhythm. And I thought, that's a fun way to improvise. Let's try to bring that to this. So this piece, for example, this was done at a house party while music was bumping in the downstairs floor. And I am just boom, 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 boom. All these little dots were all just listening to the music that was happening. And so music and rhythm was really what inspired the style to be really loosened up, almost like dancing with the brush a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah. That's how my process started. So even now, I use a little music. Every painting of mine can almost have a musical correspondent to it. So I would listen to a lot of lo-fi when I started my work. So just being alone with the self. And lo-fi is so great in that it has energy to it, but it's also calming. Mm-hmm. So this going with the flow, but also still staying relaxed was a big part of how it started. And it still goes like that to this day, really. Yeah.
So what puts you in the mood, I've got to start painting something? Is it just motivated by, this is a commission? Or when you're just creating something for the sake of being creative, what puts you in the mood to do that?
Yeah, well, lately it's been a fantastic opportunity that I have been quite busy with commissions. So a lot of my more recent work is commission work, and that's because this is part-time for me, part-time art. So I was also doing something else at the time that took up my entire week. So every other weekend it was trying to paint whatever I could, and because commissions were coming my way, the weekends became devoted to commission work. But early on, when I wasn't getting that, it was a lot of just this exploration. Like this piece wasn't commissioned.
Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Where does the inspiration come from? You were at a house party.
I was at a house party, and I was like, okay, I'm living in Chilliwack. Let's embrace what we have around us. And Xi'an is such an iconic thing. You can see it from, like, when I'd be in Victoria, I would go down to the ocean, and you can see Xi'an from Victoria if it's a really clear day. So, like, it's a very iconic part of our community. So, yeah, this piece was just, okay, like, I've tackled cultists, I've tackled our forests, let's start tackling some mountain faces. So Xi'an is just one of them. So this was just, yeah, let's see how my style translates to the art, like the design of Mount Xi'an.
So you keep your paint in a carry duffel bag, which makes me think it's so that it will be mobile. Do you like painting indoors or outdoors better?
Oh, I would love to get the chance to be out in the nature painting, but I do have a studio where I bring it back and can perfect it over the time. But yeah, like when I'm moving out to Germany, being in like open grasslands and in a very much more controlled environment versus like out backpacking into the bush here, it'll be something that I want to challenge myself with a lot more. So right now, not really, but when I'm there, absolutely.
So we talked briefly about the impressionistic style, and just before the show, we came up with a new term for yours.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Neo-modernist. Neo-impressionist.
Neo-impressionism. I feel like I'm not, like I could not possibly coin a term like that, but just taking inspiration from the Impressionists and the Post-Impressionists.
Your paintings do come from a broad brushstroke kind of style. What do you call it? That was a term
fragmented brushstrokes.
Yeah.
Like loosening up the brushstroke, because the Impressionists were all about the study of the direction of light, how it hits a surface. Does it curve over? Does it go straight across? And I just fell in love with that. And with the mix of music as well, yeah, it just kind of created its own little unique twist. So like, yeah, it is inspired by post-impressionism, but I'm adding modern music, modern speed, momentum to the brushstroke. So yeah, neo-post-impressionism maybe is a better term.
Neo-post-impressionism. NPI. Yeah, it could work.
It could work. We'll see. A new ism.
So who first noticed your inclination to do this, and what encouragement did you receive?
It was a friend of mine named Hannah Bell. She is in Victoria, and she's a creative theater individual. And she was the first to buy a piece from me. It was a little sketch of a little dancer where there were just lines thrown all over it to accentuate, sorry, that's not a word, to exaggerate the posture. And she was the first to throw $25 my way, and I was like, okay, maybe
you sold a painting.
I sold something. Let's keep going.
Yeah, but that's $25. How do you actually eke out because a lot of people are creative people that come to Creative Thursdays, and it's always interesting to hear
how you price it.
Not so much how you price it, but how do you eke out a living as a creative in your field? Well, not necessarily that you are, or even have aspirations for a great deal of money, but it's
never.
How do you?
People often approach me with an existing setting, like a photograph that they've taken of the Vedder River, or a location that they're inspired by. And they're like, hey, you have this style. I've taken this photo. Can you be inspired by that to create a personal piece connected to my memory of that place? And that's how people often approach me with and because I feel like I have a unique style to itself, that it translates quite well to nature and to locations. So that's how people often find me and want work from me. Yeah.
Where can people see your work locally?
So there is a space called Cornerstone Picture and Framing on Mill Street.
Yes.
And I have work hanging there for display and for sale. You can also find a mural in the entryway of the same store there on Mill Street. Also, if you find yourself at the Cultural Center and in the ladies' bathroom, I have done a massive stretch across the space there as well. Also, the Healing Oak Therapy Clinic on Vedder. I have done, because it's an oak tree, so I wanted the lobby is the start of the tree, and the branches go out into the hallways. It's like all a nurturing system. So yeah, You can find my work there, yeah. But online, L.Simpson Art.
How does it feel to have your work hanging in the women's room?
It was, well, at the time, it was during the pandemic. They were trying to bring color to the cultural center, just finding any which way to keep people busy, right? So there was work being done in the men's bathroom, and they wanted to parallel that in the next one. And they're like, well, hey, you're already going to be doing a show in the O'Connor Gallery space. You want to throw one there too? And I'm like, let's go. So yeah, that's how it ended up there.
What are you going to do in Germany?
Yeah, that's a
There's
big
somebody
question.
there in Germany.
That's right. Yeah. So my girlfriend is there. I met her when she was on a visa here in Chilliwack, in Canada, I should say. And now she is back. She wants to study there because, of course, it's much more affordable to study in your home country. Mm-hmm. And I'm very fortunate in that I own my own place in Garrison. And I thought, I've got nothing to lose. Let's go. So I got my visa, and I have it now, and I'm leaving.
And you can work in Europe?
I can. So it's a it's a youth mobility visa. So I can travel and support myself. So what am I going to do there? I don't know. I have like trades, like painting experience. I always have a brush in the hand. So I was working for a crew of guys where we would do, really fine lines, really fine, calm, just a wall, doing tops and bottom cuts, rolling the wall. And it was so fun to challenge myself because I'm so much more loose. Thought about it creatively, but this is it was not necessarily boring, but it was just a much more controlled setting. And so I'm hoping to take that skill. Maybe I'll be maybe I'll be a trades painter out there too, but I don't know. That's kind of the terrifying yet exciting part about this next step. So yeah.
So when you come back from Germany, check in with us.
Yes.
Let's see how things are going for you.
Absolutely, I will.
Okay, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Lucas Simpson, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
So remember, if you or someone you know is a creative individual and would be interested in being on our stage and being talked about in front of all these millions of people, well, potentially, reach out to any of us on the Chilliwack Creative Commission. We'd be pleased to hear about what you or your friend or contact has. And maybe we'll have you on our stage at Creative Third Thursdays. So it's called Bevies. You can actually go now and look at Lucas's painting hanging on an easel in the lobby. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for coming to Creative Third Thursday.